Welcome to Ad Age Remotely, where we digest the news surrounding the coronavirus outbreak and talk a little bit about how it's impacting the ad industry. I'm Jeanine Poggi, Senior Editor here at Ad Age, and I am joined by Jessica Wohl, reporter at Ad Age. Hi, Jessica.
Hey, Jeanine.
I want to say happy Friday, but I feel like the days are sort of just all blurring at this point. I don't know if we're going to be able to even differentiate the weekdays from the weekends now.
There's literally nothing on our weekend schedule this weekend. There was a haircut that was canceled.
Yep. And, I think it's a good kind of thinking about how you separate like work and home life over the weekend, because it could easily sort of blur into each other. Are there anything that you're doing to kind of make sure that you're, treating the weekend as family time and the weekday as home, as work time, or how are you sort of trying to think of making that work?
So tonight, and I can't take credit for this idea because it did not come from me, but I will share it anyway. We are doing a FaceTime dinner with my in-laws and my brother and sister-in-law, so we can all have dinner together at the same time. They're in Maryland and Virginia, so we will have a long-distance dinner together. And that's going to be Friday night dinner, and we'll see how long we keep that up, but at least it's something different.
I'm loving the virtual happy hours. I think I'm going to have one tonight with my group of friends. I think they're a fun way to sort of get together, especially on like a Friday night when the kids are in bed, like sitting down, opening wine, and just chatting with people, seeing people face to face. It's a nice little weekend.
And one of my neighbors who lives a couple blocks away, apparently everybody on their block is going to order takeout from the same restaurant and eat on their porch, so they can have a virtual block party.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it'll be great to see how our readers are, separating work and home life and what they're trying to do over the weekend to kind of distance themselves from work. You could tweet us at Ad Age or tag us in your photos on Instagram. It's always great to see how, you guys are all making this work right now. So Jessica, have you been seeing these clouds that are popping up in like where ad units would be on different websites, those like cloud images?
I've only seen the images on our stories and, because we're writing about the images, but I haven't actually come across it in real life yet. Have you?
I definitely have. I've seen them on a couple of different websites. And if you've been noticing them in places like the New York Times and Vox, George Sluffo, he wrote a story today about publishers complaining about, some of their ads being blacklisted from things that talk about the coronavirus. It's interesting right now because it's hard apparently for these advertisers to monetize the pandemic with, blacklisting the word, but everything, if you think about it, everything that, or mostly that what we're writing about is coronavirus related. Even stories like, I thought this was interesting, like a Business Insider's 13 movies and shows to watch during your coronavirus quarantine, sort of like those lighter stories where perhaps advertisers wouldn't be as concerned about being around, even those are being blacklisted. So It's interesting right now, sort of how you monetize it and do things right now.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, pretty much any story mentions coronavirus or COVID-19 in some way, even if it's not, a scary news story. So publishers are going to have to explain to their advertisers what's going on and how they're going to make up for that.
Yeah. And I think advertisers need to make it clear that maybe they don't necessarily want everything that's associated with coronavirus to be blacklisted right now. This can leave a lot of empty space of where you can actually advertise at this point, if that's the case.
Yeah.
So today I wrote a story that I want to highlight about the TV ad marketplace right now, which, we're getting into the critical period for TV networks, the upfronts, and that's when, TV networks look to sell a bulk of their commercial inventory for the fall season. And there are a lot of factors at play that looks like we might not be able to go into the negotiating period as planned. A lot of the TV networks, they already canceled their typical like live upfront presentations. And, those are always filled with celebrities and showing new programming and all of that stuff. And those will likely be live streamed. But when we get into the crux of like negotiations where they actually sell their commercial inventory, which you typically kick off around Memorial Day, it's really hard to imagine that we actually see these taking place. There's a lot of pilots and shows that aren't even being shot right now, which means we don't even know what the fall schedule might look like. And then
Right.
think about all of the advertisers. You know, we talked about restaurants yesterday, the retailers, the whole travel industry, all of those advertisers that right now can't even really think about their budgets for tomorrow, let alone for
Yeah.
2021. So one of the things I talk about in this story is if this could be a catalyst to move to a calendar upfront, meaning that advertisers and media agencies would actually negotiate for deals from, you know, January through December versus for September to August, which is something that the industry, quite frankly, over the last couple of years, it's sort of a head scratcher why we don't do that to begin with. The upfronts even started, you know, decades ago for the auto industry because in September, that's when a lot of new cars would come into the marketplace. So that's how the whole, you know, even fall calendar even got started. The TV networks were looking to cater to automakers who wanted to publicize their new autos in the fall. So a lot has
Right.
obviously changed and there's no real reason we're wedded to this. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, how the upfronts, if they take place as, you know, they usually do. If they don't right now, I can't imagine there being negotiations in May as per usual.
And they don't even have the pilots finished. So that's
It's finished. No. And the Olympics, who knows what's happening with that? And until we know if the Olympics are even going to go on as planned, which is billions of dollars, and where that'll be moved to if it doesn't, you know, there's a lot of questions right now, and sports, of course, being one of them.
yeah.
Are you guys a big sports household?
We are a huge sports household. So this weekend is going to be very weird. There's nothing to do, although ESPN2 is doing ESPN Ocho.
Yes.
So that starts on Saturday, I think.
Yeah.
So at least there will be some, you know, cornhole or bags, depending on what you want to call it, to watch. There will be some really random log splitting and all kinds of sports that ESPN is trying to fill the sports gap with this weekend.
And we have a little piece of, I guess it's optimistic news. eMarketer released a new forecast for advertising. And while they cut growth estimates, it's actually by not so much. It seems like there could even be a rebound in the second half. So in the story that EJ Schultz wrote, it says that they're expecting worldwide media spend to grow by 7% in 2020 to $691.7 billion. And that's just a slight downward revision from the previous forecast of 7.4% growth. So it doesn't seem like all doom and gloom, which, you know, is as good as we can get, I think, right now.
Yeah. I mean, people are going to find ways to advertise if they feel like advertising. That's the thing. If the mood continues the way it is now, what kinds of ads are people going to run? You know, we're seeing ads that are pulled or campaigns that have been put on hold because the mood just isn't the right time to spend. So
speaking of what kind of ads will people run, I thought this one from Visit Las Vegas was really interesting. Obviously, right now, advertising going and traveling to the casinos and the strip is not really something that you want to do, but Visit Las Vegas is airing this commercial. I'll play this. I thought this was a good way to approach it.
In Las Vegas, there's something more important than the shows and the neon. And there's something bigger than our hotels and our bravado. That something is you and your safety. That is everything. That is the only thing. We know it's tough to travel right now, or to even be around others. We just want you to know that when you're ready, we'll be ready, and better than ever. Because there is no bigger star in this town than you. Only you.
I mean, you have to think about how much money they've been losing on things like conventions that aren't going to be held there now, and obviously vacations, spring breaks, if people were planning trips to Vegas. So it's a sign of hope, I suppose, but does it going to make anybody go out and book a ticket for the next few weeks?
Well, it's not going to book for the next few weeks, but I think something that I would assume most marketers are thinking about is building goodwill and sort of keeping in people's minds for when this blows over. I would expect that after everyone being cooped up for who knows how many weeks, that there's going to be a rush to want to go to the movies, want to travel, want to enjoy entertainment. And at that point, what are the brands that you're going to want to utilize? What are the places you want to go? And perhaps now is the time to kind of build up some of that like goodwill and being in the backs of people's mind, being like, yes, when this is over, I can't wait to, hit up the casino or go to the sunny beach and get out of my house.
Sure. I also think that, when you think about Vegas, you think about shows, you think about crowds, you think about touching cards that other people have been touching and chips. So it's going to be, it's probably a smart move to start, laying the groundwork now, because changing that mentality is going to take a while for people.
Yeah. So one brand I actually thought would be doing really well in all of this, given how people are probably going to be wanting to work out at home instead of obviously going to the gyms, is Peloton. But apparently Peloton is now canceling deliveries of its equipment.
Of the bikes you can still get, the treadmills you can't get, because the treadmills need white glove delivery. They need to be put together by a professional, they say. And so if you order the treadmill, they can't set it up for you properly right now because people don't want other people in their homes. So they've canceled the treadmill orders, which is, discouraging, I'm sure, for people who are used to running on a treadmill at the gym and decided to fork over $4,000 or whatever it is for the Peloton tread. Now they actually have to go and run outside or find something else to do.
Did I read this correctly, or is this someplace about them offering the free, like videos and things like that during this?
Yeah.
Did you hear about that?
So they had a 30-day trial and they've made it a 90-day trial for their app, which I know plenty of people who have started to use it in the past week or so because they need to find some other way to work out if they were used to going to a gym. And, we'll see how many people that converts into paid users once the next 3 months are up.
That's going to be the interesting thing. EJ and I spoke about this a little bit earlier in the week about all of these services that are going free, either like apps that are offering like free trials that are longer than normally like you would have, or other things like that. And are we setting it up for consumers then to expect things to be free, or does this bring in consumers to try things that they perhaps never would and then like stick around and start paying for it?
Yeah. It'll see how many people they can convert, right? Once the thing isn't free anymore, how much do you really want it?
Right. So we should also look at some of the things that marketers are doing around the coronavirus and how they're sort of responding to it. We have a running blog that you should check out, and it keeps track of all the different responses to coronavirus. Today's newest one was on Cadbury.
Yep.
And what Cadbury is doing, they're canceling their UK campaign. Have you heard about this and what they're doing?
So their Easter egg ad, the Cadbury Easter egg is sort of synonymous with the holiday, right? And maybe we can play the ad that they were running. Do we have that? I think that's in the blog. Let's take a look.
Let's take a look.
One for him. One for her. Right. For him. Ooh. Hello. Happy Easter, Grandad.
The ad, it was about people gathering and hunting for eggs and things like that, which right now is frowned upon. So we'll see how the next few weeks go as we head into the real crux of the Easter season. For candy makers, it's a huge, huge holiday, and they've already sold in their products to retailers. Now the question is, if people are making more shopping trips, are they buying all that stuff?
Right.
You see people hugging at the end and, embracing and letting in somebody right into your house and giving them a hug right now is frowned upon. So
I have mixed feelings on this because yes, right now, obviously that's just the world we're living in. But is it really terrible to show people doing that? That is, how people greet each other. That's how we will continue to greet each other after this is all over. And just having to show, this new reality right now. Do we really need to pull those things? Like, I think that you could see it both ways. That, yeah, I'm sure there's a sensitivity to it, of course, but also why shouldn't we show people hugging and touching and, it is how we lived our lives, So it's a hard decision for marketers right now. And all of these things sort of bring up interesting questions of what topics are too sensitive and how do you even advertise in this climate? Is so many questions right now that, hopefully over the next couple of weeks we'll have more answers too.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of the ads that are running right now are pretty straightforward product ads that are not, too joyful, not too crowded. McDonald's has the Big Mac specials that it's running right now. And so you hear the voice and you see the close-ups of the Big Mac and the different Big Macs that they have, because there's 3 Big Macs right now for anybody who is, wants to go to a drive-through. And so you just see the Big Mac. You hear a voiceover, but that's it. And so is that the kind of advertising that's going to work for the foreseeable future? Maybe.
Yeah. So we have a couple of stories from Creativity today that I thought were interesting. Anne Christine Diaz, she resurfaced this 1999 pandemic-themed March Madness campaign that is very strangely relevant to where we are today.
We've got a level 9. Quarantine it all. It's all hot. Take it away.
Eerie, actually, that they had this campaign in 1999 for March Madness, and which was supposed to kick off, of course, this weekend and isn't, along with most other sporting events. And Anne Christine resurfaced that, and you should take a look at that on Creativity.
Yeah, it's a little eerie for me to watch that one.
Yeah,
it's basically Contagion meets March Madness, which is what we're living in right now.
Yes, I can't even, any of those movies that apparently all of them are sort of like resurfaced on Netflix and people are watching them. I don't know how you watch a movie like that when we're living it. Like, it's very odd. I can't go near anything that's even like slightly disturbing or post-apocalyptic at this point.
Yeah. Did you see the Kevin Bacon ad that came out?
Yes. So I actually want to show this because it is, speaking of Anne Christine Diaz, I want to throw her up there. It is the I Stay Home campaign, and essentially they're asking people to, go on Instagram, go on social media, take pictures of yourself holding up a sign saying who you're essentially trying to keep safe by staying home. And it's a great campaign. And there's Anne Christine with her sign of who she's, staying home for. And I would love to see tag us on your I Stay Home signs, who you're staying home for. It'd be great to see some of those. Who are you staying home for, Jessica?
I'm staying home for all the people you can probably hear in the background, and the dog you can hear in the background, and everybody, really. I mean, I think it's a weird time. I actually went out for a run this morning and saw a friend of mine across the street, and we did the, hey, like jazz hands hug thing from across the street, which was really weird. But it was the first time I had seen somebody who wasn't my family in a few days, who I knew. And it was like, it was so refreshing. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's, we talk a lot about like the elderly, and, I have a 93-year-old grandfather who I'm like, you are not allowed to do anything, stay in your house. You know, he talks about going to church. And I was like, nope, you cannot go anywhere. You know, it's different because they've lived through so much. And my grandfather was, you know, born in the Depression. So to him, you know, it's just something else to deal with. But, you know, it's protecting all of those people, protecting the elderly, protecting the sick. So a really great campaign from McCann, who partnered with Kevin Bacon.
Yes. And
I wanted to end on a very amusing, and I'm sure you've seen this, Jessica, the Goodby Silverstein
toilet paper talk.
Toilet paper. Let's watch this because this is really enjoyable. A fun video. It's sort of like Brady Bunch-esque, right? Like the screens. I think that's what we're living in right now. We're living in like daily in like an episode of the Brady Bunch.
It kind of is. We, you know, whenever you get on a Zoom call, if there's that right number of people, it does look like Brady Bunch. So
they're playing on that with the toilet paper, which obviously is nowhere to be found right now. My husband ordered a like a gigantic one, which I don't even know if it's legit or not, but he felt the need to order more toilet paper. It's like 80 rolls of toilet paper. So if anyone needs any, we have them all here. But like, there's nothing in the stores. It's so crazy for toilet paper to be the thing that, you know, people are coveting as though there be none left. But
I didn't realize I was such a trendsetter by keeping some toilet paper at home. I realized that some people live in apartments or smaller homes or, you know, don't have the budget to stock up. But when I buy toilet paper, I buy 30 rolls of toilet paper because that's what it comes in. And so right now we've got a good supply.
You're all set. Well, I hope everyone watching has enough toilet paper to make it through the weekend. We'll see you back here next week. Enjoy the weekend as best you can. And thanks for watching, and thanks, Jessica, for joining.
Great to be here. Bye, Jeanine.
Bye.